A quiet black American translator named Amara attends a lavish Seoul engagement party for Mafia boss Kang Jun-suk. She overhears his fiancée and his brother plotting to poison him and seize his empire. When Jun-suk raises the poisoned champagne, Amara rushes forward and kisses him in front of everyone, saving his life. But he pushes her away and orders his bodyguard to seize her, dragging her to his warehouse for questioning. Hi Islanders! Welcome to Sia's Love Island. Before we continue with this story, smash that subscribe button, like this video, and tell me where you're watching from, because this story is about to get even more intense. Now, let's get into the story. Amara heard it. The poison will take effect within 20 minutes. That was Seo-yeon's voice, Jun-suk's wife-to-be. Her voice was stripped of its usual sweetness. No one will suspect anything. He's been drinking all night. And the will. A male voice, deeper, familiar somehow. Already forged. Once he's dead, everything transfers to me. Then to us. Amara's blood went cold. She pressed herself against the wall, her heart hammering so hard she was sure they'd hear it. You're certain the dosage is right, Hyunwoo? Hyunwoo. Jun-suk's younger brother. Amara had seen him earlier, working the room with easy charm. I'm certain. I've tested it 3 times. Fast acting, looks like a heart attack. He'll collapse during the toast. Perfect. Seo-yeon's laugh was soft and cruel. I'm so tired of pretending to love that cold bastard. After tonight, we'll finally be free. Amara's hands shook. She needed to leave, to get out of this building, to pretend she'd never heard anything. But her feet wouldn't move. These people were planning to murder someone. Tonight. In less than an hour if the toast was happening soon. She shoved through the final barrier of guests, her tablet clattering to the floor. People gasped and turned, but she didn't stop. Jun-suk's eyes met hers for a split second, dark and questioning, before she reached him. She grabbed his face with both hands and kissed him. The room exploded. Cameras flashed. Someone screamed. Amara felt the champagne glass slip from Jun-suk's hand, heard it shatter against the floor, the poisoned liquid soaking into expensive carpet. Her lips were pressed against his, her heart threatening to burst from her chest, and for one impossible moment, the entire world held its breath. Then Jun-suk's hands were on her shoulders, pushing her away with enough force to make her stumble. His face was a mask of cold fury, his dark eyes burning into hers with an intensity that made her knees weak. Seize her, he said, his voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. Before Amara could explain, before she could say anything, hands grabbed her arms. A massive bodyguard, built like a wall, yanked her backward. She tried to speak, but her voice caught in her throat. The room spun around her, faces blurring together in shock and judgment. Wait, she managed. Please, I can explain. Get her out of here, Jun-suk said, his voice deadly calm. Take her to the warehouse. I'll deal with her later. The warehouse. The word sent ice through Amara's veins. She'd heard stories about what happened to people who crossed the Kang family. They disappeared. Sometimes they came back. Usually they didn't. No, you don't understand. She struggled against the bodyguard's grip, but it was like fighting granite. The champagne was poisoned. Your fiancé and your brother. Enough. Jun-suk's voice was quiet, but it silenced her instantly. He looked at her like she was something he'd scraped off his shoe. I don't know what game you're playing, but you chose the wrong man to mess with. Amara's eyes darted to Seo-yeon, who stood frozen with her hand over her mouth in perfect shock. Hyunwoo had his arm around her, comforting her, playing the protective brother-in-law. Both of them looked horrified, but Amara saw something else in their eyes. Calculation. They were already planning their next move. The bodyguard dragged her toward the exit. Guests parted like water, their expressions ranging from scandalized to amused. Someone laughed. Someone else pulled out their phone to record. Amara's face burned with humiliation and terror. Please, she tried one more time, twisting to look back at Jun-suk. Just test the champagne. That's all I'm asking. Test it and you'll see. But he'd already turned away, his attention back on Seo-yeon, who was crying delicate tears into his chest. Hyunwoo was ordering staff to clean up the broken glass, his voice concerned and authoritative. The perfect family, rallying together after a crazy woman's attack. The bodyguard hauled Amara through the lobby and into a waiting black SUV. He shoved her into the back seat and climbed in beside her, his presence filling the entire space. Another man sat in the driver's seat, silent and stone-faced. "Where are you taking me?" Amara's voice shook, but she forced the words out. The bodyguard didn't answer. He didn't even look at her. The SUV pulled away from the hotel, merging into Seoul's late-night traffic. Through the tinted windows, the city lights blurred into streams of color. Amara's mind raced through her options. She could try to jump from the moving vehicle, but the doors were probably locked, and even if they weren't, they were going too fast. She could scream, but who would hear her? Who would care? She was just another foreign woman in a city that had seen everything. The drive took 30 minutes, each one stretching into an eternity. They left the bright lights of Gangnam behind, moving into an industrial area where warehouses squatted like sleeping giants. The SUV finally stopped in front of a nondescript building with no windows and a single steel door. The bodyguard pulled Amara from the car. Her heels caught on the uneven pavement, and she nearly fell, but his grip kept her upright. He led her to the door, which opened at his approach. Another guard stood inside, this one armed with something that bulged under his jacket. The warehouse was exactly what she'd feared, cold, empty, and echoing. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting everything in harsh white light. The space was mostly bare except for some wooden crates stacked against the far wall and a single metal chair in the center of the room. "Sit," the bodyguard said, the first word he'd spoken to her. Amara sat. The metal was cold through her thin dress. She wrapped her arms around herself, trying to stop shaking. This was insane. An hour ago, she'd been standing in a corner, invisible and safe. Now she was in a Mafia warehouse, probably about to be killed for trying to save someone's life. The minutes crawled by. Amara counted the lights overhead. 14. She counted the crates. 23. She counted her breaths, trying to stay calm, trying not to think about what happened to people in places like this. The door opened. Jun-suk walked in, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. He'd removed his jacket and loosened his tie, but he still looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine. Except for his eyes. His eyes were empty of anything resembling mercy. He stopped a few feet away from her, his hands in his pockets, studying her like she was a particularly interesting insect. "Who sent you?" His voice was conversational, almost casual. "No one sent me." Amara forced herself to meet his gaze. "I'm a translator. I was hired to work the party. Translators don't usually assault their employers." "I wasn't assaulting you. I was saving your life." Something flickered across his face, too quick to read. "By kissing me." "The champagne was poisoned. If you'd drunk it, you'd be dead right now. I knocked it out of your hand." "How convenient," Jun-suk said softly, "that you knew exactly which glass was poisoned. Because I heard them talking about it. Your fiancé and your brother. They're planning to kill you and take everything." For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he smiled, and it was the most terrifying thing Amara had ever seen. "Do you know how many people have tried to turn me against my family? How many enemies have sent beautiful women with wild stories, hoping I'd be stupid enough to believe them? I'm not lying. Everyone lies." He took a step closer. "What I want to know is who's paying you and what they really want." "Nobody's paying me. I'm just a translator who was in the wrong place at the wrong time." "Wrong place," Jun-suk repeated. "Yes, you certainly are." He studied her for another moment, his gaze moving over her face like he was memorizing every detail. "What's your name?" "Amara. Amara Johnson." "American?" "Yes." "How long have you been in Seoul?" 6 years. "And in 6 years, you just happened to overhear a murder plot against me." He shook his head slowly. "You'll have to do better than that." Desperation clawed at Amara's throat. "Check the broken glass. Test it for poison. That's all I'm asking. Just test it. The glass has already been cleaned up. Very thoroughly, I'm sure." Of course it had. Hyun-woo would have made sure of that the moment she'd been dragged away. Any evidence was gone, and she was alone in a warehouse with a man who thought she was trying to destroy his family. "They're lovers," Amara said, the words tumbling out in a rush. "Seo-yeon and Hyun-woo. I heard them talking about being together once you were dead. They've been planning this for weeks, maybe months. The will is forged. They're going to make it look like a heart attack." Jun-suk's expression didn't change. "My brother would never betray me. Your brother is sleeping with your fiancée." Now something did change in his face. It was subtle, just a tightening around his eyes, but it was there. Amara pressed her advantage. "Test them. Put cameras in Seo-yeon's apartment. Follow Hyun-woo. You'll see I'm telling the truth." Or, Jun-suk said quietly, "You're a very good liar working for someone who wants to tear my family apart from the inside." He turned toward the door. "Keep her here. Don't let her sleep. I want her scared." "Wait." Amara surged to her feet. "You can't just leave me here." He paused at the door, looking back over his shoulder. "I can do whatever I want. That's the benefit of being who I am." His eyes held hers. "You should have thought about that before you put your hands on me." Then he was gone, and Amara was alone with the bodyguard, who settled himself against the wall with the patience of someone who'd done this 1,000 times before. The hours that followed were the longest of Amara's life. She wasn't tortured, wasn't even touched, but the waiting was its own kind of agony. Every sound made her jump. Every time the bodyguard shifted, she thought it was the beginning of whatever came next. She tried to stay awake, but exhaustion pulled at her. Her eyes drifted closed, and she jerked awake, terrified of what might happen if she let her guard down. The bodyguard watched her struggle with detached interest. Somewhere around what she guessed was 3 a.m, the door opened again. But it wasn't Jun-suk. Hyun-woo stepped inside, and Amara's blood turned to ice. He was smiling. "Well," he said, walking toward her with easy confidence. "This is an interesting development. If you're enjoying the story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what happens next. And drop a comment below telling me what you think Amara should do." Now, let's continue. The bodyguard straightened slightly, but didn't intervene as Hyun-woo approached. Amara's mind raced. If Hyun-woo was here, if he had access to her, that meant Jun-suk trusted him enough to let him into the warehouse. Which meant her warnings had done absolutely nothing. "You caused quite a scene tonight," Hyun-woo said conversationally. "The whole party's buzzing about it. Some people think you're a scorned lover. Others think you're just crazy." He tilted his head, studying her. "What do you think you are?" Amara's throat was dry. "I think I'm someone who made a mistake." "Oh, you definitely did that." He crouched down in front of her chair, bringing his face level with hers. Up close, she could see the family resemblance to Jun-suk, the same sharp jawline, the same dark eyes. But where Jun-suk's gaze was cold and controlled, Hyun-woo's held a glittering madness. "The question is, what do we do about it? What do you want?" "I want to know exactly what you told my brother." So Jun-suk hadn't shared the details of her accusation. That was something, at least. A tiny spark of hope flickered in Amara's chest. "I told him I was trying to save his life," she said carefully. "By kissing him." Very heroic. Hyun-woo's smile widened. "But why would his life need saving?" "I thought I saw something in his drink." "Something? I don't know. It just looked wrong." Hyun-woo studied her for a long moment, then laughed. "You're a terrible liar. But you're also very lucky." "Lucky? My brother thinks you're working for the Chong family. They've been trying to take over our territory for years. If he believed you were actually telling the truth about what you overheard, he stood up, brushing invisible dust from his pants. "Well, let's just say this conversation would be very different." Amara's pulse hammered in her throat. "I don't know anything about the Chong family." "I believe you. You're just some nobody who stumbled into something way over her head." He turned toward the door. "Keep your mouth shut about whatever you think you heard, and you might survive this. Keep making accusations and," he shrugged. "Accidents happen." He left, and Amara felt something inside her crack. She'd tried to save Jun-suk's life, and now she was trapped between his suspicion and his brother's threats. There was no good way out of this. Even if she recanted everything, Hyun-woo and Seo-yeon would see her as a liability. They'd come after her eventually. The bodyguard's phone buzzed. He answered it, listened for a moment, then looked at Amara. Boss wants you brought back to his office. Amara's legs barely supported her as she stood. Every muscle ached from sitting in the metal chair for hours. The bodyguard guided her out of the warehouse and back into the SUV. Dawn was breaking over Seoul, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. It should have been beautiful, but all Amara could think about was whether she'd live to see another sunrise. They drove to a high-rise in Gangnam, one of those glass and steel towers that screamed money and power. The bodyguard led her through a private entrance, past security that didn't even blink at her disheveled appearance, and into an elevator that required a key card to access the top floor. The doors opened directly into a penthouse office. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city. The furniture was sleek and expensive, all sharp lines and dark wood. And behind a massive desk sat Jun-suk, looking as fresh and composed as if he'd slept a full 8 hours instead of spending the night dealing with whatever chaos she'd caused. He dismissed the bodyguard with a slight nod. The elevator doors closed, and Amara was alone with him again. Sit, Jun-suk said, gesturing to one of the chairs across from his desk. Amara sat. Her dress was wrinkled, her makeup probably smudged beyond recognition. She felt small and exposed under his steady gaze. I've spent the last 6 hours looking into you, he said, pulling up something on his computer. Amara Johnson, 28 years old, born in Atlanta, Georgia. Moved to Seoul 6 years ago to study Korean literature. Graduated top of your class. Working as a freelance translator, mostly for corporate events and business meetings. Clean record, no debts, no connections to any of my enemies. He looked up from the screen. You're exactly who you said you are. Hope sparked in Amara's chest. Then you believe me? I believe you're not working for the Chong family. That doesn't mean I believe your story about my brother and fiancé. The hope died. What will it take for you to believe me? Evidence. Real evidence, not wild accusations based on a conversation you claim to have overheard. He leaned back in his chair. Do you understand the position you've put me in? If I accuse my brother and my fiancé of plotting to kill me based on nothing but your word, I look paranoid. Weak. My enemies would see it as an opportunity to move against me. So you're just going to ignore it? Wait until they try again. I didn't say I was ignoring it. Something dangerous flickered in his eyes. I'm saying I need to be smart about this. And right now, you're my only lead. Amara's stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means you're going to stay close to me until I figure out what's really going on. He stood, walking around the desk to lean against it, his arms crossed. If you're telling the truth, you're in danger. Hyun-woo and Seo-yeon will see you as a threat. If you're lying, I want you where I can watch you. You're keeping me prisoner? I'm keeping you alive. His voice was hard. You kissed me in front of 200 people. That video is already all over social media. Every news outlet in Seoul is running stories about the mystery woman who disrupted my engagement party. You're famous now, Amara. And famous means visible. Visible means vulnerable. He was right, and she hated that he was right. She'd acted on instinct, trying to save his life, and now she'd painted a target on her own back. Where am I supposed to stay? She asked quietly. Here. This building has 12 residential floors below the office level. I own a unit on the 20th floor. It's secure, private, and monitored 24/7. He pulled out his phone and typed something. I'm having some of my people collect your things from your apartment. You'll have everything you need. I don't have a choice in this, do I? No, he met her eyes. But consider it protective custody rather than imprisonment. At least until I know whether you're a liar or a victim. The apartment on the 20th floor was stunning. 3 bedrooms, a kitchen with appliances Amara didn't know how to use, and windows that offered the same breathtaking view as Jun-suk's office. It should have felt like a luxury hotel. Instead, it felt like a very expensive cage. A woman arrived an hour later with Amara's belongings, her laptop, her clothes, her books. Everything from her tiny apartment, packed efficiently into designer luggage that definitely wasn't hers. The woman also brought food, fresh clothes in Amara's size, and toiletries. Mr. Kong wants you to rest, the woman said in perfect English. He'll send for you this evening. Then she was gone, and Amara was alone. She showered, washing away the grime and fear of the warehouse. The bathroom was all marble and gold fixtures, with a tub big enough to swim in. Under different circumstances, she might have enjoyed it. Now, she just felt numb. She tried to sleep, but couldn't. Her mind kept replaying the moment she'd kissed Jun-suk, the shock in his eyes, the way his lips had felt against hers for that brief, impossible second. She'd been so focused on knocking the glass from his hand that she hadn't thought about what the kiss itself would mean. Hadn't thought about how it would feel. Her face burned. She'd kissed a man she didn't know, a dangerous man, in front of everyone he cared about. And some small, traitorous part of her brain kept remembering how he'd felt, solid and warm and real. She shook her head, trying to clear it. That was just adrenaline talking. Fear and exhaustion playing tricks on her mind. Jun-suk was her captor, not her savior, and she needed to remember that. Evening came. A different bodyguard knocked on her door and escorted her back upstairs. Jun-suk's office was dimmer now, the city lights glittering through the windows like earthbound stars. He was on the phone when she entered, speaking rapid Korean to someone who apparently wasn't giving him the answers he wanted. His tie was loosened, his sleeves rolled up, and there was a tension in his shoulders that hadn't been there this morning. He ended the call and looked at her. Sit. We need to talk. Amara sat in the same chair as before. Jun-suk poured 2 glasses of whiskey from a crystal decanter and held one out to her. She took it, more out of surprise than desire. I've been making inquiries, he said, settling into the chair next to hers instead of behind his desk. The casual proximity made her heart rate spike. Quiet inquiries, through people I trust. About the poison you claimed was in my champagne. And? The broken glass was indeed cleaned up very thoroughly. Too thoroughly. The entire area was sanitized within minutes of you being removed from the party. He took a sip of his whiskey. That could be standard procedure. Or it could be someone covering their tracks. Amara's pulse quickened. So you believe me? I believe something isn't right. I also had someone review the security footage from the party. There's a 3-minute gap in the recording from the hallway outside the private rooms. The same hallway where you claim to have overheard this conversation. Someone deleted it? Someone edited it very carefully. Most people wouldn't even notice the gap. His dark eyes fixed on her. But I notice everything. The way he said it sent a shiver down her spine. She took a sip of whiskey to cover her reaction. It burned going down, smooth and expensive. I also looked into my brother's finances, Jun-suk continued. He's been spending more than he should. Expensive gifts, private rooms at hotels he has no business being at. All paid for in cash, which means he didn't want the transactions traced. He's having an affair. Possibly. Probably. His jaw tightened. But that doesn't prove he's trying to kill me. What would prove it? Catching them in the act. Getting them to confess. Finding the poison itself. He set his glass down. Which is where you come in. Amara's stomach nodded. What do you mean? Seo-yeon called me this afternoon. She's concerned about me, wants to make sure I'm okay after the crazy woman attacked me at our party. She's invited me to dinner tomorrow night at her apartment. His smile was cold. She's never invited me to dinner at her apartment before. Usually, she prefers restaurants where she can be seen. You think she's going to try again? I think if she and Hyun-woo are really planning to kill me, they're going to be nervous now. Desperate, even. They'll want to move faster than planned. He stood, walking to the window. I want you to come with me to that dinner. What? Why? Because you're the one who heard their plan. You'll recognize their tells, their nervousness. And more importantly, your presence will make them panic. Panicked people make mistakes. You want to use me as bait. I want to use you as a witness. He turned to face her. If they try something, you'll be there to see it. And this time, I'll be ready. Amara's hands shook. She set the whiskey glass down before she dropped it. What if they try to kill me instead? They won't. Not with me there. They need me to trust them, which means they need to play the part of concerned family members. His expression softened slightly. I won't let anything happen to you, Amara. You have my word. His word. The word of a mafia boss who dragged her to a warehouse and kept her prisoner in a luxury apartment. But what choice did she have? If she said no, he might decide she was lying after all. And if Hyun-woo and Seo-yeon were really planning to kill him, another attempt was inevitable. Okay, she whispered. I'll do it. Something flickered across his face, too quick to read. Good. Get some rest. Tomorrow is going to be a long day. The next day passed in agonizing slowness. Amara tried to distract herself with work, answering emails from clients who were probably wondering where she'd disappeared to. The mystery woman from the viral video had been identified online as a translator, but so far, no one had tracked down her exact identity. Small mercies. In the afternoon, the same woman from yesterday arrived with a dress. It was beautiful, a deep emerald silk that probably cost more than Amara made in 6 months. Mr. Kong wants you to wear this tonight, the woman said. And these. She produced a pair of heels that would have made Amara's old self weep with joy. I can wear my own clothes, Amara protested. Mr. Kong insists. The woman's smile was polite but firm. You'll be accompanying him to dinner with his fiancée. Appearances matter. Right. Because she wasn't just Amara anymore. She was a prop in whatever game Jun-suk was playing with his family. That evening, the bodyguard came for her again. Amara had done her makeup carefully, her hair pulled back in a sleek bun. The dress fit perfectly, hugging her curves in a way that felt both empowering and terrifying. She barely recognized herself in the mirror. Jun-suk was waiting in the lobby. He wore a dark suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent, his hair styled perfectly, every inch the powerful businessman. But when his eyes met hers, something shifted in his expression. You look beautiful, he said, and it didn't sound like a compliment. It sounded like an accusation. You're paying for the dress, Amara replied, trying to keep her voice steady. It better look good. The corner of his mouth twitched. Almost a smile. Come. The car is waiting. He didn't touch her as they walked to the SUV, but she felt his presence like heat. The way he moved, the way people instinctively stepped out of his path, the way the driver jumped to open the door. This was a man used to being obeyed, used to having power. And for tonight, she was under his protection. Or his control. Maybe they were the same thing. Seo-yeon's apartment was in Cheongdam-dong, one of the most expensive neighborhoods in Seoul. The building was all glass and modern architecture, dripping with wealth. Security waved them through without question. In the elevator, Jun-suk finally spoke. Stay close to me. Watch their faces when they see you. And if anything feels wrong, anything at all, you tell me immediately. What if they don't try anything tonight? Then we'll have dinner and leave. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. His hand brushed her lower back, guiding her out as the elevator doors opened. The touch sent electricity up her spine. Remember, Amara. I'm watching them. But I'm also watching you. Make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on because this story is about to get even more intense. Drop a like if you're Team Amara and comment below what you think is going to happen at this dinner. Let's continue. The door to Seo-yeon's apartment opened before they could knock. She stood there in a white dress that made her look angelic, her smile bright and welcoming. But when her eyes landed on Amara, that smile froze. Jun-suk, darling, she said, recovering quickly. I wasn't expecting you to bring a guest. This is Amara, Jun-suk said smoothly, his hand still resting possessively on Amara's back. I'm sure you remember her from the party. Seo-yeon's eyes went cold. Of course. How could I forget? She stepped aside. Please, come in. The apartment was exactly what Amara expected. White furniture, modern art, fresh flowers everywhere. It looked like something out of a magazine, sterile and perfect. Hyun-woo was already there, standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows with a glass of wine. His expression when he saw Amara was carefully neutral. Brother, Hyun-woo said, walking over to embrace Jun-suk. This is a surprise. I thought it would just be the three of us. Change of plans, Jun-suk replied. I hope you don't mind. Of course not. The more the merrier. But his eyes when they met Amara's were full of warning. They sat down to dinner at a table that could have seated 10. The food was catered, expensive Korean fusion that probably came from one of the restaurants Jun-suk's family owned. Amara barely tasted any of it. She was too busy watching. Seo-yun's hands trembled slightly as she poured wine. Hyun-woo kept glancing at his brother when he thought no one was looking. And Jun-suk sat at the head of the table like a king, his expression unreadable. "So, Amara," Seo-yun said, her voice syrupy sweet. "Jun-suk tells me you're a translator. How fascinating. What made you decide to work at our engagement party?" "I was hired by the event coordinator," Amara replied carefully. "It was just another job." "Just another job," Seo-yun repeated. "And yet you felt compelled to kiss my fiancé in front of everyone. That seems like more than just another job." The table went silent. Jun-suk's hand found Amara's under the table, his fingers wrapping around hers. A warning or a comfort, she couldn't tell. "I was trying to prevent him from drinking something dangerous," Amara said, meeting Seo-yun's eyes. "I thought I saw something in his glass." "How strange," Hyun-woo interjected. "All the champagne came from the same source. If one glass was contaminated, wouldn't they all be?" "Unless someone contaminated a specific glass," Amara replied. "One meant for one specific person." The temperature in the room dropped. Seo-yun's smile became brittle. "That's a very serious accusation." "It's not an accusation. It's an observation." "Enough," Jun-suk said quietly, but with enough force to silence everyone. "We're here for dinner, not an interrogation." He looked at Seo-yun. Amara was confused. She's new to these kinds of events. She made a mistake. "A mistake," Seo-yun echoed. "Yes, I suppose that's one way to put it." They finished dinner in strained silence. Amara's nerves were stretched to breaking. She kept waiting for something to happen, for someone to make a move, but everything remained polite and tense. After dessert, Seo-yun excused herself to get coffee. Hyun-woo followed her into the kitchen. Jun-suk leaned close to Amara, his breath warm against her ear. "They're panicking," he whispered. "Watch." A moment later, raised voices came from the kitchen. Not loud enough for the words to be clear, but angry. Definitely angry. Then silence. Footsteps approaching. Seo-yun returned with a coffee tray, her smile forced. "Coffee, anyone?" "I'll pass," Jun-suk said. "It's getting late. We should go." "So soon?" Seo-yun's disappointment sounded genuine. "But we haven't had a chance to really talk. About the wedding, about everything. We can talk tomorrow. At the office." Jun-suk stood, pulling Amara up with him. "Thank you for dinner. It was enlightening." In the elevator going down, Amara finally let herself breathe. That was terrifying. That was productive. Jun-suk was checking his phone, his expression satisfied. "My people have been monitoring Seo-yun's apartment. They recorded the conversation in the kitchen." "What did they say?" Hyun-woo asked her what she was thinking, bringing you there. "She said you were becoming a problem that needed to be dealt with." He agreed. He looked up from his phone. "They're planning something. Soon." "How do you know?" "Because Hyun-woo just texted someone asking for a meeting tomorrow morning. Someone he's never contacted before. Someone who sells very specific, very illegal things." Amara's blood ran cold. Poison. Or weapons. Or information on how to make someone disappear. His jaw tightened. Either way, they're escalating. Which means we need to move faster. Back at the apartment building, Jun-suk didn't take her to her floor. Instead, they went to his penthouse, a sprawling space that made the apartment she was staying in look modest. He poured them both drinks and gestured for her to sit on the massive leather couch. "I need you to do something for me," he said, sitting beside her. Close enough that she could smell his cologne, something dark and expensive. Something dangerous. More dangerous than dinner with people who want to kill you. "Yes." He turned to face her fully. "I need you to agree to meet with Hyun-woo. Alone." Every instinct in Amara's body screamed no. "Why?" "Because he sees you as a threat. If you reach out to him, tell him you're scared, that you'll keep quiet about what you heard in exchange for money or protection, he'll take the bait. And then what? He kills me. He tries to. But you'll be wired, and I'll have people watching." The moment he admits to anything, the moment he threatens you or tries to hurt you, we'll have everything we need. His hand covered hers. "I won't let him hurt you, Amara. I swear it." She should say no. She should demand to be released, to be let go back to her normal life. But looking into Jun-suk's eyes, she saw something she hadn't expected. Desperation. He needed this. Needed to know if his own brother was trying to kill him. And despite everything, despite the warehouse and the captivity and the fear, she wanted to help him. Okay, she whispered. I'll do it. His eyes searched hers. Why? You don't owe me anything. Because you believed me. Eventually. And because no one should have to face betrayal from their family alone. Something shifted in his expression. Before she could process it, his hand was cupping her face, his thumb brushing her cheekbone. You're either very brave or very foolish. Probably both, she managed, her heart hammering. Amara. Her name on his lips sounded like a prayer and a curse. If this goes wrong, it won't. You promised. I did. His gaze dropped to her lips, and the air between them crackled with tension. I promised to keep you safe. But I didn't promise to keep my distance. The kiss was different from the one at the party. That had been panic and desperation. This was deliberate, intense, consuming. His lips moved against hers with a hunger that made her dizzy. She should push him away. He was dangerous, a mafia boss, someone who kept people prisoner and probably did far worse. But her hands were in his hair, and she was kissing him back like he was oxygen and she was drowning. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. This is a terrible idea. Probably the worst, she agreed. If my family doesn't kill you, proximity to me might. Then I guess we should make it count. He laughed, the sound raw and unexpected. Then he was kissing her again, and the world narrowed to just this. The taste of whiskey on his lips, the strength of his hands, the feeling of being wanted by someone who should terrify her but instead made her feel more alive than she'd ever been. They didn't sleep together that night. Jun-suk walked her back to her apartment, his hand never leaving hers, and left her at the door with one more kiss that promised things neither of them could say out loud. The next morning, Amara sent the text to Hyunwoo. Simple, scared, exactly what a panicked woman trying to save herself would send. I need to talk to you. Alone. Please. I just want this to end. His response came within minutes. Meet me at the Namsan Tower observation deck. 2 p.m. Come alone. Jun-suk's people fitted her with a wire so small she couldn't even feel it. They went over the plan a dozen times. She'd meet Hyunwoo, get him talking, get him to admit to the plot. Easy. Except nothing about this was easy. At 1:45, Amara stood at the base of Namsan Tower, tourists streaming past her. She'd never felt more exposed in her life. Somewhere in the crowd were Jun-suk's people, watching, protecting her. But she couldn't see them. She was alone. Hyunwoo appeared at exactly 2 p.m., wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap like he was in a spy movie. He gestured for her to follow him to a quieter corner of the observation deck. You have 5 minutes, he said without preamble. What do you want? I want to forget what I heard at the party. I want to go back to my normal life. Amara forced her voice to shake. But I need to know I'll be safe. Safe? Hyunwoo smiled. From what? From you. From Seoul. From whatever you're planning. I'm not planning anything. You're paranoid. I heard you talking about poison. About killing Jun-suk and taking his empire. You heard wrong. Then let me walk away. Give me money to leave Seoul, to start over somewhere else, and I'll never say a word to anyone. He studied her for a long moment. How much? 50 million won. That's all. Just enough to disappear. That's a lot of money for someone who heard wrong. Please. Amara let tears fill her eyes. I'm just a translator. I never wanted any of this. Hyunwoo's expression softened slightly. You really are just a nobody, aren't you? Wrong place, wrong time. Yes. So please, just let me go. He pulled out his phone, typed something. Okay, I'll give you the money. But you have to do something for me first. Amara's stomach dropped. What? There's a package being delivered to my brother's office tomorrow morning. Coffee beans, his favorite brand. I need you to swap them with these. He pulled a small bag from his jacket. Same brand, same packaging. He'll never know the difference. What's in them? Does it matter? You get your money, I get my brother out of the way, everyone wins. You want me to poison him. I want you to help me solve a problem. Consider it payment for your silence. His eyes went hard. Or I can solve 2 problems at once. Your choice. This was it. The confession. Amara's wire was recording everything. Any second now, Junsook's people would move in. Any second. But Hyunwoo's hand was suddenly on her arm, pulling her toward the edge of the observation deck. You know what? I don't think I trust you after all. Let go of me. You're too scared. Too nervous. Either you're working with my brother, or you're just stupid enough to think you could extort me. He yanked her closer to the railing. Either way, I think Seoul just lost another clumsy tourist. People were screaming. Amara fought, but Hyunwoo was stronger. The railing was at her back, and beyond it was a drop that would kill her. This wasn't supposed to happen. Junsook had promised. Then suddenly Hyunwoo was being ripped away from her. Junsook appeared like vengeance incarnate, his fist connecting with his brother's face with a sickening crack. They went down together, a tangle of violence and fury. Security rushed in. Tourists scattered. And Amara collapsed against the railing, her entire body shaking. Someone wrapped a jacket around her shoulders. She looked up into Junsook's face, blood on his knuckles, murder in his eyes. I've got you, he said. You're safe now. The police arrived. Hyunwoo was arrested, his confession recorded. Within hours, Seo-yeon was in custody too, the poison found in her apartment. The empire Junsook's father had built wasn't going to his brother. It wasn't going to anyone but the man it had always belonged to. 3 days later, Amara stood in Junsook's penthouse, her bags packed. The ordeal was over. She was free to go. Where will you go? He asked, his hands in his pockets, maintaining distance. I don't know. Maybe back to the States. Maybe somewhere new. She looked at him. You're really letting me leave? You were never my prisoner. Not really. Then what was I? He crossed the room in 3 strides, pulling her against him. Mine. You were mine. You saved my life. You risked everything to help me. And I. You what? I fell for you, he admitted, the words rough. The translator who kissed me to save me. The woman who saw me, really saw me, and didn't run. How am I supposed to let you go? Amara's breath caught. I could stay. It's dangerous. My life, my world. You'd never be completely safe. I wasn't safe when I was just a translator either. At least with you, I'm alive. She kissed him, soft and sure. At least with you, I feel something. His arms tightened around her. Stay. Please. I'll give you everything. Protection, freedom, anything you want. I just want you, she whispered. The cold, dangerous mafia boss who promised to keep me safe and actually kept his word. Then you have me. He kissed her deeply, thoroughly. For as long as you want me. That might be a very long time. Good. His smile was real this time, warm and genuine. Because I'm not letting you go a second time. Seoul glittered outside the windows, a city of lights and secrets. Somewhere down there, people were plotting and scheming, living their dangerous lives. But up here, in this moment, Amara felt safe. Because the most dangerous man in the city was holding her like she was precious, like she was his, like she was home. She'd saved his life with a kiss. And somehow, in the process, he'd saved hers too. If you loved this story, make sure you're subscribed because I have so many more coming your way. Hit that like button if you're rooting for Amara and Junsook, and drop a comment telling me what you think happens next for them. Do they live happily ever after, or does the Mafia world pull them apart? Let me know your theories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.